This is episode number 2 of How to Run a Salesforce Freelance Business, a podcast mini-series on salesforceadmin.com. My name is Brian Shea. I'm a Salesforce Architect. I'm a self-employed consultant, and I am the host. One of the most common pieces of advice for freelancers is to find your niche. It's great advice, but it's easier said than done. How do you actually go about finding a good niche for yourself? In this episode, I talk with Susan Beyer about exactly that. She's the founder of Audience Audit. It's a firm that helps companies define their niche and to find their ideal clients. And we talk about practical ways that freelancers can narrow their niche and get more of the kinds of work that they love. Everybody talks about niching.
Yeah. Right.
Or niching.
Niching.
Everybody says you talk about business, you talk about starting a business, that's what people talk about.
You need to have a niche.
You need to have a niche.
Yeah.
Right?
And then they provide no support in what that is, or how to figure that out.
Right. Everybody says it's important, but getting advice on how to define it is really hard. And that's what you do in all sorts of different ways. So just to kick it off, can you talk about, when we talk about defining a niche, can you talk about some of the themes?
Yeah. I mean, fundamentally, having a niche is just about narrowing things so that you can focus what you're doing and what you're saying. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just, you and I have had this conversation before because you always have 50 million ideas in your head.
Yes.
And having that many ideas can be really daunting. And it can also really undermine your efforts to be clear about who your best customers are, who you're a good fit for, how you can help them, all those things, because there's just too much going on, right? Mm-hmm. So fundamentally, a niche is just fixing a narrow focus for yourself. I think where a lot of people get stuck is they've been led to believe, or they've come to believe, that a niche means I'm a specialist in this tool, mm-hmm. or I serve this kind of food, or, you know what I mean? Or I only do this work for this particular industry, or mm-hmm. companies of this size, and those kinds of things. But if you do that, one of the things that I think becomes very apparent very quickly is that you're still sort of stuck with, okay, now that I've named my business Donuts Without a Hole, right? What do I talk about mm-hmm. to get people to want what I am selling and to be interested in what I do? It doesn't give you a lot to work with. And that's because a lot of the characteristics that I think we choose to niche on aren't actually very helpful from a communications and positioning and messaging standpoint. So there's two things you have to do. You have to niche. And the second thing is you have to niche in something that actually matters and is relevant and you can communicate. Right? So when I first started my company, Audience Audit, I was coming off a layoff at the height of the recession.
The old recession, not the new recession.
Right? Which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to these mm-hmm. days, right? And I was like, okay, I'm never working for anybody ever again. And I'd been in marketing at that point, like 20 years or so. I'd worked for really big companies and really small companies and agencies, and I'd done a huge breadth of things. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to hang up my own shingle and I'm going to do any of the things I can do that someone will pay me for it. Right? Because I was like, how am I going to pull this off? Yeah. And I have all of these different things I can do. And so basically the banner for all those things.
And you listed them all on your website.
Yeah. It's like, I'm a marketing consultant.
Yeah. I've done the same thing.
Right. I have all this stuff that I can do. I'm a marketing consultant. Well, there are like 400 marketing consultants in my neighborhood. Like it is not a differentiating position. Yeah. Right. And so what you start to realize is what matters a lot more than how you've decided to target, you know, the demographics of who you're going to sell to, or the company size, or the industry, or whatever, is what problems are you really bent on solving for someone? You know, what are the things that just fire you up and you love to do and you're brilliant at solving, and that people are out there trying to solve because they haven't found a solution that works for them? Okay. So, and we're going to talk about this more, I know, but that is a much more effective way to niche, because even if you decide you're only going to sell donuts without a hole in them, right? It's so easy for somebody else to set up shop and sell donuts without a hole in them. And plus, what does that do for anyone? What's so great about a donut without a hole? Why wouldn't you go get a regular donut, or a cruller, or a croissant, or a cupcake?
Right. In obviously this is for the Salesforce, freelancer folks. For a lot of people, and you and I have talked about Salesforce with, Chris Lee and with other folks. A lot of people who are buying Salesforce aren't particularly interested in Salesforce.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right?
Right.
And being a Salesforce specialist isn't differentiating.
Right.
There's hundreds of thousands of them around the world, right?
Yep.
But to your point, like, do the people that you want to help actually know that Salesforce is what they want? Do they have any idea about what it can do for them, or that it exists? Maybe not. So if you're out there saying I'm a Salesforce specialist, chances are the people you're getting with your determined niche is people who already know they want Salesforce. And if that's who you want, right? If you want people who are very well versed in Salesforce and need or have a specific problem in their organization that they need Salesforce to help them fix, then they may come to you. But think about the people who are out there who could be helped by the capabilities of a well-executed Salesforce implementation, who have no idea that that's what would solve their problem. So, wrong definitions of your niche, they narrow the people you will get, and they lose the ability for you to reach people that won't see themselves in your customer base.
Right. And one of the things, I took us into Salesforce space, and now I'm going to take us out for a second. The example that you told me years ago that was like a light bulb thing for me, and I hope you don't mind me bringing it up, because the past client is the candle client that you had. Do you mind talking through that? Because I think that's just a great example of problems.
So this was a company that made, and still does actually, really high-end home fragrance products. So like scented candles and potpourris and reed diffusers and essential oils and all of that kind of stuff for making things smell good. That was their positioning, right? We're gonna
making things smell good. So all their marketing material, everything, their website was all about
our fragrances are extraordinary. They're very complex. They last a long time. They're very unique, right? Okay.
Yeah. They're very complex. It's like some inside baseball there. Like, hey, here's how we make our interesting fragrances. You can't get this stuff
anywhere, just anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Is their position. But when we did research into their audience, their actual customers, what we found was, yes, there is a group of people there who are buying those products because of the fragrance and how unique it is and how long lasting it is. And they're doing so because for them, fragrance establishes a mood. They want to walk into their bedroom and release the day and the stress of the day, or whatever, or they want an uplifting fragrance when they're working out, or whatever it is. It's the fragrance for them. And they're buying as many different products in that fragrance as they can, because they're layering them and they want it to last long. Okay,
fragrance
fragrance
nerds.
So, and the company was like, oh yes, that is our customer, because most of the people in the company were that, right? Because that's what they did. We all have this bias based on why we do what we do, right?
Yep.
So those
Yep.
are our people. Well, okay, so that's fine. But the problem is there's another third. So that's a third of their audience. Another third of their audience is about decorating with things. Their whole motivation is people coming into their house and going, oh my Lord, look at this. You are the next Martha Stewart. This place is absolutely gorgeous. And they're looking for items that help create that visual appeal of a beautiful home for them. And for them, candles, reed diffusers, or whatever are just one element of all of that that's happening. It can also be flowers, and it can also be mirrors, and it can also be beautiful pieces of art, and all of these kinds of things. Lighting, right? For those people, fragrance is secondary. It's just not, they're looking for color and design options and stuff that looks really good. And at times the fragrance can become a problem for them because they do a lot of entertaining. They have people over. And if you're serving a meal, you don't want heavily fragranced stuff around there because it interferes with the smell of the food. So sometimes these people will be like, oh, that's so beautiful. Can I get it without a fragrance? Right? Or they have like the green bathroom and they have a whole bunch of stuff in there. And if it all smells different, that's gross. Right.
So, and I'm assuming if you start talking to that group, the second group, about here's how we got our organic rose scented candle and we ground down the rose, like you're going to lose them, right?
They're like, I'm not here for that.
Right.
And maybe that's going to be nasty when I serve my roast. Like that, right? Okay.
Yes.
And then they've got a group who they're gifting. This is a category that they love to gift because, again, unlike the first group who's very self-motivated, right, about the fragrance of their home, like the second group, these people are motivated by other people saying, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, so generous of you. You shouldn't have, did you wrap this yourself? They are much more interested in the package than what's inside it. They want it to look impressive and beautiful. They want it to be a brand name that says, I really went out of my way to get you something special. Right?
The experience of somebody opening the package.
Yeah, like a beautiful gift, an impressive gift. That's what they want. So, the thing is that, and all of these people are buying these products from this company. They all those products solve different problems for different people. And all of these people look the same demographically in terms of the mix of men and women and age ranges and all of those income, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And they buy differently. Some of them buy online, some buy in stores, some buy, from a catalog, whatever, right? So with one company that makes something as mundane as we might think, these are just pretty scented candles, right? They are solving different problems for different people. And you have to talk to those people differently. Now, that company has decided that their niche is solving these 3 different problems, right? We can give you the fragrance that you need in your home and it'll last forever. We can give you unparalleled design and color options and beauty to complement what you have going on in your home. And we can give you an unparalleled gift that looks and is special and luxurious and that your recipient's going to love. So you don't have, your niche doesn't mean you have to only solve one problem, but it does mean you have to be super focused on what problems you're solving. And this company can very easily say, hey, we sell candles, right?
Yeah.
But the risk that they will miss people who are looking to solve these specific problems, right? And the risk that they'll get the wrong message to one of these audiences and really be talking about something that's not relevant to that audience and could even be off-putting is really high. And that's why focusing on niche matters so much. And when you do that, when you niche based on problem, all of these other questions that people struggle with, like I was a freelancer too. This whole question of who is my ideal audience, and we all sit there and go, Anyone
And what about the budget?
18 to 79,
Right,
who,
right, right.
like who living in the mid-Atlantic region, like all of those things that we feel like we have to put down that actually we don't know
Right.
if that's right. And it
Right.
doesn't help us reach them. Nobody wants an email that says, hello, woman 25 to 49. Right.
Or small to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah,
I serve small to medium-sized businesses. Like,
exactly. Or
that's
business
like 60% of the economy.
Right. Here's the thing, like, and the Salesforce example is a great one. If you're going to define businesses as anywhere from 25 to 25,000 employees, okay, how helpful is that? That's not helpful. That's everybody.
Yep.
Okay. And if you're going to define your ideal target audience as businesses that do e-commerce, how helpful is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many other people can serve that audience?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe better than you,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you said, look, as a Salesforce expert, what I want to do is help people who are having this particular problem, okay? And that problem may not be predicated on whether they even know about Salesforce or use it right now.
Right.
Maybe it is, right? But maybe it isn't. And that's so much more helpful.
And so there's a couple things I want to pull out from what you just said. The first thing is when you were talking, going back to the candle example, right? In that second group, you talked about the, what was it? The visuals were important.
The decorators.
The decoration is important. The smell might actually take away. And you sort of had this, you probably didn't even notice you did it, but you threw out the example of like, I'm making a roast and the smell, and it's very specific.
Yep.
Right. They're very specific stories. And I know that obviously you do, we're talking about soloists and freelancers, but you do this for agencies and clients, right? So companies, and you do surveys, and I don't know if you talk to people directly, but you get all these stories.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very specific, because that's how people think of it, right? Like if I'm the person who's buying it, like these are the things that are coming to my mind, right? Yeah. Like that I'm having people over and I need to decorate.
And unless you're brand new to being a Salesforce person, you have heard these stories.
Right.
Because people tell them to you.
Right.
You listen while people complain about how they can't get organized or their system doesn't work, or they have to do everything manually or whatever those, you hear those.
Right. You have like, I'm like, as you're talking, a few like problems or scenarios that I just come to mind immediately is you work with clients, and one of the problems that people have is our users, we have Salesforce, but our users haven't adopted it because they don't understand the screen, the how the screens work.
And they just rather
it's intimidating, it's too much. So a niche could be, we really focus, we do, Salesforce Sales Cloud, and we really focus on user adoption.
Yeah. What is the problem you solve? My users won't adopt our Salesforce.
Right. And there may be different, we may be able to even break that down further into making the user interface better, providing training, like there may be different ways to do that, but that's a problem. And that's very specific. Another problem could be, we want to have Salesforce, but we've got like a bunch of political stuff in our organization, and we have different CRMs, and we need a consultant that can come in and knows the technology, but can handle the politics.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's.
Yeah. And another problem would be, look, we've got to get systems that accomplish these things for us. And we don't know very much, but Salesforce sounds like it's for companies that aren't like ours.
Right.
It's too scary. Like, I just feel like that's only for, the Microsofts of the world.
Big companies.
Not for us.
Right. And you could have, one of the things I said that we said in another episode of this series is you could have 3 different Salesforce freelancers. They could all have the same number of years of experience.
Yep.
Same certifications. Equally capable, same job titles, same everything. But one of them, you could see one of them being like really technical, really comfortable with the technical side of it. And there's problems they can solve on that front. You could see somebody who's technical, but also really good at like managing the project and making sure it's on time.
Yep.
You know, and the biggest concern of the people that they work for is this going to go over budget? Are we
Right.
going to launch this in 6 months? Can you guarantee that? That, you know, that could
Do
be
you have specialized expertise? And we're in healthcare, and everything
right,
has to be HIPAA compliant. Do you
right,
know how to make that happen within our system?
right, right, right. Or
Data
you,
privacy, like,
right. Or some, or, you know, some people, you know, Salesforce for a lot of companies is intimidating, right? So maybe you're the person who's really great at sort of helping companies step into Salesforce
yeah.
and you
I
know,
mean, think about if you were interested in a development coach, a personal
yep,
coach.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And every ad said coach,
yep,
right?
yep,
And how do you choose? How do you make that decision? Whatever. But on the other hand, what if the ads say, I work with people whose children are making them crazy, right? I work with people who have no self-confidence about their ability. I work with people who have a family member with bipolar disorder.
mm-hmm,
I work with, like, think about how
mm-hmm,
easy it becomes to find the help that seems absolutely perfect for you. And
mm-hmm.
this is what we have to do, whether we're B2B, B2C, whatever, because it's always a person like
Right,
that's looking,
right,
right? Companies don't Google stuff. People do, right? So people are out there looking for help to these specific problems. And I can tell you, and you've had this experience yourself, it is a magical thing
mm-hmm,
when they find it and go, oh my gosh, this business is absolutely built for me.
mm-hmm.
This person is devoted to solving the problems that my company is having. Holy moly.
Yeah, I mean, so specific example, and you know this example too. Somebody else who's in this series is Pam
Oh, yep.
Slim, right?
Yep.
And when I was in 2010, 2011, I was working at a job. I wanted to go out on my own,
Yep.
and I'm on the internet reading books about how to start a business.
Yep.
And some of those books are like, the examples are like, here's how to start a, you know, 1,000-person manufacturing company. And I'm like, oh, that
Right.
some of these lessons are useful, but a lot of them aren't. And I sort of don't get it or anything. And then I came across this book called Escape from Cubicle Nation. And
Right.
it's like, could anything like speak to you any more
Right.
than that? And
And
I'm sure,
yeah, that's the power of this.
yeah,
Like, when you get this figured out, you can start talking about it.
yeah,
And then it becomes so clear who your ideal customers are. It becomes absolutely crystal clear to them. It also becomes absolutely crystal clear to anyone who knows someone and would like to connect you.
yep,
Because they go, like I do, as you well know, my business does quantitative attitudinal segmentation research.
mm-hmm,
It's a mouthful, okay?
yes,
Attitudinal segmentation, shorthand, right? Most people I know, because I've been just talking about attitudinal segmentation, which is what we're talking about, right? How people feel, the problems they're having, the struggles that they're trying to resolve. That's
yep,
that's looking at
yep,
people based on that instead of by
yeah.
something else. Or
Segmenting by attitude problem
right.
they're trying to
You can do
solve.
it with
Yep, yep,
companies too, right?
yep,
Decision makers in companies. But everybody who knows me in a professional context, if they know nothing else, they know segmentation research.
yep. Four agencies.
Maybe they know that. Maybe if they don't, they'll ask.
Yep.
But it is absolutely clear. And it's so much more effective than somebody saying to someone they know, you know, I know somebody, she's a marketing consultant. Maybe she can help you.
Yeah. I need some billboards. Where do I go?
That's just not, yeah.
Right.
Right. So yes, this clarity around niche is so important. And what's going to grab people is not that you are a Salesforce expert for healthcare companies. What's going to grab somebody is that you are an expert in solving the data privacy and HIPAA issues within automated systems for hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or setting up those kinds of systems for sole practitioners.
Yep. Yep.
That's what's going to make somebody go, ding, I should investigate more. And then when they do, what your website has to do is just have tons of content about that's designed to help those people.
Yep.
Nothing convinces somebody faster than going to a website and seeing copy that feels like it was written to them.
Yep.
Resources that are incredibly helpful, right? Videos that talk about exactly the problem I am trying to solve in my company.
So by this point in the episode, I'm assuming people are saying,
how do I do that?
How do I do that? This sounds great. How do I do that? What do I do?
Right.
Um,
it's not hard. I won't say it isn't hard. It requires a lot of introspection, but anybody can do this.
Yeah. And I would also say, as somebody who did, like, with your help, did this and continues to do this iteratively, there's like a sort of a thinking shift.
It's a flip.
Yeah.
It's a flip switch is what happens.
Yep.
It's a different way of looking at your audiences. But once you get that, then it becomes a matter of regular practice, and you can continue to examine and further refine your niche problems, and it makes it so much easier to think about content and what you should be saying and where you should be putting your messaging and all that kind of stuff. But it all starts with the problems that your audience is struggling with and that you are interested and well equipped to solve for them.
And would you say for folks, I know when I went through your course and the content and everything, I looked back at like projects that I had done in the previous year or two.
Yep.
And which ones, and sort of looked at them, and which ones did I enjoy, which ones did I not enjoy, which ones were profitable, which ones were less profitable.
Yep.
And then looked at the things like, why were they good?
Right.
Why were they not?
Like, what was the problem that was really needing to be solved in that project?
Right.
And why was that so fulfilling and successful for you and for the client to work through that project together? Because here's the thing, and I've been there, you have been there, anyone who's a sole practitioner has been there. Sometimes you just got to work for the money.
Yep.
Or the insurance or the whatever, right? And we all have a lot of capabilities, and I will never judge anyone for doing work that they need to do to take care of themselves and their family. Never. But what you really need to start doing is turning your business toward the point where all you do is work you love with people you love to do it for. Companies you love to do it for. And that is not something that will happen overnight. But I will tell you right now, it can happen within 2 to 3 years. If you change your website from being here's what I sell and all the stuff I can do, which is like our resume, we all do it. Like,
every programming language I've ever heard of, interacted with. Yeah. Right.
Or even worse, in a Salesforce situation, here are all the capabilities that Salesforce has. Let me know if you need any of them. Right? Which is, it's not a Salesforce specific problem. It's 99% of the websites on the internet. Say, here's the stuff. See if you can ruffle through here and find what you want. Okay? But if you build your website to say, look, I am a Salesforce expert, and I use that expertise to solve these specific problems. And if you have one of these, read more about how I can help you. If you bite the bullet and take off everything that you don't really love to do and want to do, and if you think just about the problems you want to be solving exclusively 3 years from now, and the kind of people you want to be working with to do that, that will happen. You can still take the call when somebody says, hey, I know you used to build these big database systems in Excel, and I need some help. Will you still help me? You can still take that work. Just don't put it on your home.
I was going to say, you don't need to put it on your website.
Right. Yeah. And what'll happen over time is that your reputation becomes what you want it to be in terms of what people know you for, what they refer you for, where you start to show up in search results for things, the podcasts you get invited to be interviewed on, though that's what starts to happen. And within 3 years, you can be doing only the work that you truly love to do, solving the problems you truly love to solve and bringing everything you have in your expertise to bear on solving them, with only the people that you enjoy working with, only the kinds of organizations you want to work with, only the kinds of leaders in those organizations and decision makers and implementers that you want to be working with. It is absolutely possible, but you have to start telling people, these are the things I solve, and you have to fly that flag like crazy.
Yeah.
That's how you differentiate yourself from the 18,000 other Salesforce experts in your state.
Right.
Or in your industry or whatever.
Right. And the, as you were saying that, one of the things that came to mind, I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
No.
And if you do, I'll edit it out. So for your business in particular, you have a rule that I know you stick to, which is you don't do RFPs. You don't go through the RFP process.
Nope.
And you have said that it keeps you, the people who want to do the RFP thing stay away, but it also brings you closer to the people who are maybe a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit less formal, who are your people, are your companies, right? When they see, oh, this Susan doesn't do RFPs, she sounds like somebody we want to talk more with, right?
Yeah. So I have a new piece of content called Fun with Research. It's a free, very short video series that happens every week on YouTube. And it is specifically designed to help people who don't understand that much about research understand it a little better in plain language so they can talk to other people about it. And that's because a lot of the clients that I work with and I want to work with, agency clients, small to mid-size agencies, they have some experience with research, but probably not with a lot of different kinds of research. Yep. They don't have an internal research organization or expert. So they aren't confident talking about research and answering questions, excuse me, from their clients. They don't feel like experts. And my argument is you don't need to be an expert. You need to find an expert, but you do need to be able to understand these things so that you can strategically make recommendations to your clients that make sense and that you feel good about making, right? So that's my niche. Small to mid-size agencies don't have their own research organizations, but want to do a great job for their clients, and research can help them do that, but they need help to pull that off. And they don't, these aren't the big, New York agencies, 10,000 employees. These have 5 employees or 35 employees or 55 employees. But that doesn't matter as much as the problem that they're solving, right? The problem is, I'd love to offer research. I don't know how to do that. I don't have a resource. I can't speak to it intelligently. Help, right?
Your site does that. You're not going, again, you're not going into like the inside baseball of...
No, because that scares the crap out of people.
Right. It doesn't help them. The problem, which is like, how do I serve my clients better? How do I use research to help them understand their clients better so we can deliver them better marketing?
I'm not trying to train them to be statisticians.
Right.
I'm trying to help them be more comfortable that they have, good advice and good options and can talk intelligently about that to their clients. So it's just an example. I'm not the be all and end all by any means. And there are other folks doing this kind of work that are just excellent.
You are the be all and end all.
But, well, thank you. But that's a good example of a piece of content that the idea came from understanding the problems that my people that I want to work with, that I want to help, are having. And that's the power of this thing. Knowing that your target audience is women with, $180,000 to $240,000 in income in a Volvo doesn't help you sell anything to them. It doesn't help you talk to them. And it certainly doesn't help them feel like you care about them.
Right.
Right? what makes them feel like that is you talking about something that resonates with them, that is highly relevant, that is a real pain point for them, and telling them, hey, you know what? Let me show you how I can help.
Yeah.
And maybe Salesforce is the last thing that you talk about. You know, you've heard me say before, like, meet people at the problem and then walk them to the solution.
Yeah. Yep. This conversation has been fantastic.
Good.
Can you tell people where to find you?
Yeah. So we're back to the question of how do I do this? Okay.
Yep.
And as I said, it's not impossible to do, but there is a process that you can go through and anybody can do it. And so I built a course called Audience Access, which helps solopreneurs figure out how to identify their ideal audiences. And I've got a code for your listeners that will give them free access to that course. The code is salesforceadmin, and the website is audienceaccess.com, and you could go and register for that class. And it is step-by-step exercises, videos, or whatever to help you walk through and learn how to do this for yourself. And your experience is very typical in that you went through it, and maybe you went through it a couple times, and now you basically go through it without going through it because you know what the steps are.
Yeah.
Because, you know, defining your audience is not something you do once. It's an iterative process. As your business develops, you learn more, you refine the problems, you learn about new problems that maybe you didn't anticipate that you also want to help with or whatever. So this is something you need to get used to doing ongoing in your business.
It's not an event, it's a practice.
Right, it's a practice. Yeah. And hopefully the course will help you understand how to think about this for your business, not for anybody else's, not with generalities, but specifically for you and your business. Because you and I both know this, we've been doing this long enough. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you won't do it.
Right.
Your business won't survive if it makes you miserable. You know, you'll go back to working for somebody else again. And that, you know, so if you really want to be on your own and do your own thing, you've got to enjoy what you're doing and who you're doing it with. So that's a core part of that process too, is just who are you and what do you want? I never want to wear pantyhose again. And so I built my business so I don't have to.
My friend.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.